It's Monday, May 4th, 2020. And you can see I've got Larry's PayPal account listed here at the top. I'm going to give you some news on Larry as soon as I have a few more people who are showing up and in the chat and listening, because I don't want to have to keep repeating it. I know there's a delay, and so there may be more of you here with me at this point than I realize, but it takes, just like it takes you a minute or two before you hear what I have just said, in the same way it takes a minute or two for me to find out if you are there, unless you're actually typing in the chat, and then I know. So right now I see that we have 6 people with us, and so I'm going to wait for a few more people to come. I'm going to continue the Bible lesson I was working on last week, where I had read Revelation 21:8. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 7 today and read 7 and 8. He who overcomes will inherit all this, what he said above that. And I will be his God, and he will be my child, or he or she will be my child. This is the reward we have for trusting and obeying God. Welcome, ladies. And this is the part that we're going to be working on this week again. But the cowardly, and I spent, almost a month, a little bit at a time, every day, talking about no fear. The unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. And the whole idea of having fear and being sent to hell, I know if you're unbelieving, that's one thing. But remember, folks, don't say you believe in God. That's not good enough. The demons believe in God, and they tremble and quake. So that's not enough. As Chris has told us, he was in the chat on Friday, Pastor Chris. He said, the word belief actually includes both trusting and obeying. So it's not enough just to trust. So news about Larry's wife. I went over on Friday. I was waiting all week. We'd gotten a donation last weekend. I had waited all week for the phone to come that I was expecting to come for them. And it still has not arrived. But the donation I took over, and I doubled it, and I handed it to her. She looked like a deer in the headlights, folks. She just looked so incredibly exhausted and overwhelmed. So please be praying for her. About an hour ago, I got a phone call from Larry. And folks, I got to tell you, his voice, I haven't heard his voice sound that strong. He still had a bit of gravel with it, but his voice was stronger than I've heard in a long time. And he said, please tell everybody I will be back. Be patient with me. I'm getting better. I will be back. So I have no idea where he is. I did ask, and he says, I am not allowed to tell you. And I said, I understand that. No problem. The other thing he said, Ellie didn't get the whole story straight when he talked to his wife about their financial need. Some of the issues that Larry is dealing with, Medicaid is covering. And he said, you remember, I'm a pauper, Mary Ellen, so Medicaid's covering it, not Medicare, because his Social Security was taken away, so therefore there's no Medicare. But Medicaid is picking up some of the bill for whatever he's needing to get. But a lot of the lung treatment that he'd been getting, they have to pay cash for, because it's outside of typical protocol, because most people in his condition are just allowed to die. And he has had access to things that have kept him alive. And look, folks, he died June 22nd, 2016, and they brought him back to life. And he died again twice more before the election, and they brought him back to get his heart stopped and whatever, and they were able to resuscitate him. February 26th, 2018, so just over 2 years ago, they could not bring him back. And they tried to resuscitate him for a long time, and they gave up. They pronounced him dead. They left the room. I had this incredible urge, something's wrong, something's wrong, something's wrong. And so I sent a text message, because I don't normally text him or call him. I wait for him to contact me. I rarely am the one initiating contact with Larry. That's my role as his assistant. It's not just friendship with Larry is not a normal friendship. This is not what I am there to serve Larry as his assistant or whatever I can do to help. And so I know normal medical status. But what they have done for him with his lungs has been outside of normal, and therefore he needs cash for that. So he still does need help for that. There was a time 2 months ago where he had told me in February that, well, it's just over 2 months, but he had told me, don't use his PayPal account. And I think what was going on was because of the pneumonia and whatever else was happening. I don't know if he was in an induced coma or if he had gone into coma. But in any case, he couldn't access his account because of his physical condition. Not that his account had stopped, but he couldn't use it. And he didn't have access to his phone. His wife had his phone at home, and he had no way to be able to pay for anything. So that has changed. Now, Ellie may not have understood. She may not have been told the whole story. She may not have understood the whole story. The funny thing is, after the last time Ellie was here with us, when I called her and actually talked to her, she said, "Oh no, it wasn't that they didn't need money. It was that I had offered to help with groceries, and they said they didn't need any help with that." Well, I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, I don't want to. There was some kind of misunderstanding, and I am not going to say that Ellie made some terrible mistake, because I'm not going to badmouth her. I appreciate so much that while I was trying to get my house sold and remodeled and sold and to get moved, she was there to help with this program, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Now, Larry told me he'd gotten a report that she or somebody is saying that Larry's PayPal account doesn't work and that I am intercepting money. No way, folks. No way. No way. Somebody sent money to my PayPal account because I asked them to do that. We have used others of Larry's friends to accept money to take to them because they were here and they were able to do that. I am now close by enough that I am willing to take money over to him if it comes to me, but we don't need to do that anymore. Larry's PayPal account is running, it's working, and he would appreciate any help he can get. And so to have somebody, whoever it was, on some YouTube was saying that, that I was intercepting stuff, that's just not true. Folks, listen, when we wrote 28 Years to Nowhere, we had to pay for the printing. And the plan was that Larry and I and the publisher and the person who'd helped with the with the recording that I used, we were going to split the money and the proceeds. So I was to get paid, and I was actually supposed to get paid up front before any money went to anybody, because we had to pay me back for the publishing. I didn't get that. I never asked for it. I have refused it. I was told to keep the money when money would come, and I would say no. Larry needed it. He got it. So I have not intercepted and kept one single penny. And when donations come, I have always added to it and made it more than what anybody sent. And that's been my habit from the beginning. So for somebody to be claiming in a public venue like this that I'm intercepting something is just nothing but a lie. And you can imagine how Larry feels about that. So he said he will be back. He's still going to need some time. But as soon as he's back, remember, I've told you that as soon as he's back, the thumbnail will have his picture rather than the Never Socialism. So we're back to Revelation 21:8, and we're going through some of the sins that are listed there. And we've talked a lot about the fear. We've talked about, I haven't dealt with unbelief, but Friday we talked a lot about iniquity, which is habitual sin. We read several things, Proverbs 6, where it talks about the things, the abominations that God hates, and lying was in that list twice. So the truth is really important, and I talked about what is truth, that Jesus is the truth. And so I'm going to we're going to talk a little bit today about, I know this isn't an issue we deal with, but most of us are not murderers. But I'm good, the fact that there are murderers and vile people, I'm going to read some stuff out of Proverbs. And that Proverbs has 31 chapters. So it's a really good book to read one chapter a day when you have a month that has 31 days in it. So that's what I'm doing this month, while I'm also finishing up John, and then I still have Matthew and Luke in the New Testament, and let's see, what do I have in the Old Testament? I've got Ezekiel, Isaiah, and Jeremiah, and then I'll be done finally. And I don't think I'm going to make it by June 21st, because I've had some days with this move that just have taken me out of being able to do my 3 to 4 chapters a day. So Proverbs 1. The Proverbs of Solomon for attaining wisdom and discipline, for understanding words of insight, for acquiring a disciplined and prudent life. That's incredible. We need to acquire these things for our personal life, for our personal use. And for doing what is right and just and fair, for giving prudence. Here's prudence again, which is good sense, good judgment, and giving this to the simple or the naive. He gives knowledge and discretion, which is the ability to plan ahead. He gives knowledge and discretion to the young. Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. For understanding proverbs and parables, the sayings and riddles of the wise, the fear of the Lord. Here's the only fear we're supposed to have. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. It's essential. It's the controlling principle for getting wisdom and knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and discipline. And fool means one who is morally deficient. So if you're morally deficient, you're a fool, because God has given us what we're to do, and we're supposed to be obedient. I keep looking. I've got a piece of paper here with my grocery list on it, and I keep looking down at it instead of my notebook. So I'm going to skip down to verse 10. My son, if sinners entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, come along with us, let's lie in wait for someone's blood. Let's waylay some harmless soul. We will get all sorts of valuable things and fill our houses with plunder. Throw in your lot with us and we'll share a common purse. My son, do not go along with them. Don't set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into sin. They are swift to shed blood. These men lie in wait for their own blood. They waylay themselves only. Such is the end of all who go after ill-gotten gain. It takes away the lives of those who get it. Remember, the whole concept of what goes around comes around really is a biblical principle, because at the end, all who go after ill-gotten gain, it'll take away the lives of those who get it. So if you get ill-gotten gain, you're going to lose your life over this, and especially for eternity. So the simple-minded are too inexperienced to understand wisdom. The fool hates and avoids wisdom. But the simple has the potential to become wise if they make the effort. But if they will become a fool if they choose not to seek wisdom. Let's see. Since you rejected me when I called, I'm in verse 24. Since you rejected me when I called and no one gave heed when I stretched out my hand, since you ignored all my advice and would not accept my rebuke, I in turn got goosebumps. This is awful. I in turn will laugh at your disaster. I will mock when calamity overtakes you, when calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster sweeps over you like a whirlwind, when your distress and troubles overwhelm you. Then they will call to me, but I will not answer. They will look for me, but will not find me. Since they hated knowledge and did not choose to fear the Lord, since they would not accept my advice and spurn my rebuke, they will eat the fruit of their ways and be filled with the fruit of their schemes. For the waywardness of the simple will kill them, and the complacency of fools, complacency puts you in the category with fools, that'll destroy them. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. You know, I'm just so, every time I read through the God's word, you know, I told you it was 2000, what year was it? 2016 was the year that I read through the whole Bible in 4 months. And I'll tell you folks, doing that, I mean, I was reading books at a time to do that. And I had such a different outlook on who God is and how he works in our lives and how he works in history. To have done that fast and be able to see and contrast and put together so many different things where the Bible meshed together, it made such a huge difference. So if you're retired, I would strongly encourage you to do that because it was life-changing for me. So let's see. Proverbs 2:3-5 encourages us to dig into God's word. If you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, if you look for it as if you're looking for silver and search for it like searching for a hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. And verses 7 and 8 of chapter 2, God's going to give us his help. He holds victory in store for the upright. He's a shield to those whose walk is blameless, for he guards the course of the just and protects the way of the faithful ones. And when I think of what we're going through as a nation, what we're going through as a world, and we're seeing the culmination of history and culmination of what God said was going to come, we're beginning to see things really fall into place. I don't know if God's going to give us another reprieve and push the timeline back still or not. When we hear about what's coming, I mean, when I got up this morning, the first thing I did was roll out off the sofa. I'm still sleeping on the sofa because I don't have that part of the house set up where I wouldn't have to be on the sofa. So first thing I did was roll out onto my knees. And I thought, Lord, as soon as I make my report today to my moving company of what's missing and what's damaged, I need to take more of a priority in my time for being on my knees and covering our country and covering our president in prayer. I listened to Robert Hendricks, I think his name is, talking about his call to pray for the president. I was listening to an interview he did today with Cornerstone Community Church, I think was the website, the YouTube channel. And he was just talking about several dreams he'd had of him with President Trump. He's never met President Trump. He's not part of the pastoral council at all. But what he was interpreting those dreams as was our need. And when we see what he's participating in, man, we have got to keep him covered. We've got to keep him covered. And I got a call from somebody who's helping with the campaign of the sheriff for Dallas. And I don't know if it's Dallas City or Dallas County. I think it's Dallas County. And I was just reminded, we haven't talked in quite a while about what Larry said, that George Soros is funding the sheriff races to keep in and bring in people who will support the New World Order. Look at what's happening around this country, where sheriffs are sending their deputies and policemen out to arrest somebody for pushing their child on a swing in the park, for coming to somebody's home and saying you can't allow your child to go next door and play with the neighbor child, and going to them, oh, we already talked to them. Now you give us your last name, and if you won't, then we're going to turn in a report that you're non-compliant and belligerent. And I mean, the things that are happening, sheriffs have the right to obey an order or not that comes down from the governor. And Larry has told us that in the military, just like had happened in the White House with Vindman, and he got canned, or at least out of the White House. If you obey an immoral order, you are responsible for your actions and you can be prosecuted. You may not obey an immoral order. If it's wrong, you cannot obey it. And this excuse that Brennan and Clapper were using, Larry told us this with Brennan and Clapper. With Brennan and Clapper refused to go after Trump without Obama signing off that they were to do it. So they could use the excuse that they were just obeying orders and wanting to throw it back on Obama's back. And Larry said, no, they're responsible for what they did because what they did was against the Constitution. And what these sheriffs and policemen are doing, it's against the Constitution. And we've got this stuff going on with, like what we're seeing in Proverbs 1, let's just do this together. No. We have got to be standing up and call the sheriff's office if they're acting like this. Call the governor's office. Soros does not fund local sheriff's offices and police departments, but he is funding the races, the election races for November, so that they can get in sheriffs that will support the New World Order. Larry has told us, if you've got a federal prosecutor that's in line with the New World Order, who's a globalist, who is willing to do whatever goes along with the deep state, or you have a sheriff who's going along with that, who are you going to call for justice? We have to get in people who will bring us justice. And these federal prosecutors have got to be fired and replaced. We have to be very careful about who gets elected. We have got to be paying attention to more than just the presidential race. We've got to watch the down ballot race. And, the primaries are so important because we have got to get out the incumbents. They have to go. We need new people in. So I don't know what you're saying is not true. Larry told us that Soros is funding the down ballot races. So I'm going to read a little bit more. I was listening to L.A. Marzulli interviewed Dr. Tim Kennedy last week, and he gave the definition of fascism as collusion between big government and big business. And in some of these press briefings, we're seeing these big business owners, the owner of Target, Walmart, Kroger's, some of the big pharma guys being trotted out as cooperating. And of course, some of the companies that are doing the masks and the personal protection equipment, PPE, personal protection equipment, and so on. So, Lenora, if you know local sheriff and police departments that are doing the right thing, then God bless you. You are blessed for living in a good location. That is not happening in a lot of other places. There are unlawful orders being handed down that are against the Constitution, like William said. Yes, morality is being set aside, and we need to hold them to account. And God is going to hold us to account for what we fail to do. That is, as Pastor Sanders says, that's the sin of omission. So Proverbs 3, I'm going to read verses 7 and 8. Don't be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil because, listen to this. Proverbs 3:8. Fearing the Lord, shunning evil will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. I'm going to drop down to verse 25. Have no fear of sudden disaster, for the Lord will be your confidence. And there again, no fear, no fear, no fear of sudden disaster. The Lord will be your confidence. I mean, I've got to face the fact that I've moved into a place that has lots and lots of storms. Ellie gave me quite a lecture on that, and I don't have the app because I don't have a weather app, and I don't have a TV, and I have not found a in DC area. We had a 24/7 news channel that every 10 minutes was giving the weather report, and more frequently if there was bad weather coming through, which didn't happen very often there. But I haven't found anything like that here. And I was very grateful that my landlord called me when the last tornado came by here, and she was giving me every few minutes an updated report, which meant a lot to me that she would do that for me. So Proverbs 3:29, do not plot harm against your neighbor. This kind of goes along with what I read in Proverbs 1. Don't plot harm against your neighbor who lives trustfully near you. Don't accuse a man for no reason when he has done you no harm. I want to say, folks, Chris has teased me about being red-faced because I've heard that I was called red in the face the other day. Well, the house is warming up. I'm in long sleeves. I have rolled them up. And so if my face turns red, please know, folks, as a blonde, I don't sweat much, and my skin will turn red because it's blood vessels coming to the surface to help me cool off. So if I'm hot, that's what's going on, is I'm just hot if I get red in the face. I don't do that because of any emotional reaction. It's just strictly the temperature. And then I'm going to go over to John 12, verses 35 and 36, 42 and 43. Jesus told them, you're going to have light. Jesus was talking to his disciples while he was busy predicting his death. He said, you're going to have light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light before darkness overtakes you. The man who walks in the dark doesn't know where he's going. Put your trust in the light while you have it, so you'll become sons of light. So thanks, Julie. Thanks, Josephine. Let's see. And after Jesus said that, he hid himself from them. So, but I just thought, when we have this threat of an EMP coming, and we have people talking about darkness coming, we need to remember Jesus is the light. And even though we can't see, yes, Laura, I'll get back to that in a minute. We have to, first foremost, keep your trust in the Lord with no fear. Okay. We've got to be mindful of that. And then at the same time, many, even among the leaders, believed in Jesus. But because of the Pharisees, they would not confess their faith for fear they would be put out of the synagogue, for they love praise from men more than praise from God. So I don't know about you, but I see that happening an awful lot. I think about the pastors and how few stood up to the government to keep the church open. Rodney Howard Brown, my understanding is they spent $100,000 to put in an air filter system, air purifying system in their church building. And, they had seats so that people were staying far apart from one another. And the pastor in Louisiana, and even pastors who were having church in the parking lots where you're inside your car with the windows rolled up. Even if the windows are rolled down, you're not blowing on somebody else. This is just the nonsense of what's gone on is just ridiculous. And, thank God for the 1,000 people who went into the ocean on the California coast. This business of we need to be following the light. And we need to be doing what's right. And you know what I found out? I finally found a church here, not in town, outside of town. But I found a church where the pastor is online doing the message. But you know what? The door to the church is not locked. And I found that out yesterday afternoon, so it was too late to go for the morning service. And I was going to go for the afternoon service, and I was so busy unpacking boxes and trying to create some order that the time got away from me, and the time to leave alarm went off, and I got a phone call right then, and I went, oops, okay. So Wednesday night, I don't know if we'll do the conference call Wednesday night. Depends on what time that service is over and if I can get home in time or get back to my phone. But I'm going to try going to the church service on Wednesday night and see what happens. Now, supposedly this state has opened up, but I don't know what that means. I don't know at what level it's open. I don't know if it's 100% open, or I don't know. I know some states are opening, but they're opening gradually and so on. So, little bit of news. I've covered all that. I'll repeat with Larry. Larry called me an hour before the show, very briefly. He could not tell me where he was. He said nobody's allowed to know where he is. He said that I put his PayPal account up because his PayPal account is live. He can access it now. In February, he could not access his account. Nobody could access his account. And so he didn't want any funding going into his PayPal account because he was in and out of coma, and it wouldn't do any good because nobody could access the money to get him what he needed. He did say that Medicaid is paying for the normal course of action for whatever he's dealing with. But a lot of his lung treatment that he was getting is out of the realm of normal because he's died so many times, and so they're having to do they're doing some unusual, he's a test subject for some new stuff, folks, and that needs cash to do, and so he hasn't been able to get that. And so, he's a little concerned about what's going to be happening with his lungs. Don't forget, 1/3 of one of his lungs got shot off because of, a drive-by shooting. Well, it didn't get shot off, but he had so much shot, they had to cut off 1/3 of one of his lungs. So, that, can you imagine, folks? His daughter was out in the front yard while he was mowing the grass when this drive-by shooting happened. So, when he's lost that much of a lung and he's got other issues that compromise it, keeping his lungs healthy is really, really important. And he told me that he got a phone call from somebody saying that I had intercepted everything and that his Nichols Live was not active, and don't do that, and don't give money to me because I was taking it. And that is not true. That is not true. He is now able to access his phone wasn't working there for a while, and he said now he can see it, he can get to it. And so if anybody can help, his PayPal account's here on the screen. And he said, please tell everybody I will be back. Be patient. I will be back. And he talked to somebody in Dallas who's helping support this sheriff that's running in Dallas. And, he said, look, I knew what was going to happen. He said, what's happening is what I told you guys was going to happen. He said, I couldn't give you details. It was confidential, and it was under, anyhow, his confidentiality agreement blocked him from giving us all the details. But he said, this is exactly what I told you was coming. They just did it a few months earlier than he had expected. So, FYI, prayers for Nashville and some of our folks living in that area. They had 130-mile-an-hour straight line winds yesterday with a little bit of spinning. Wouldn't I be in Hawaii if I took his money? Well, having raised the amount I did, yeah, I'd say so. Even if I was getting $10, I would have had more to eat than one bowl of oatmeal a day that I went through for a year and a half. So, yeah, I think that would have been a big difference in what I was doing had I intercepted even $5. Halley's Comet is coming by again, or at least the debris field from Halley's Comet is flying by tomorrow and Wednesday. And then on the 12th, which is, I think, next Tuesday. Yeah, it's next Tuesday. There's going to be hail, fire, dust, rocks, and iron oxide. Um, I think on May 12th is called the Jupiter collision, and so a lot of uh, this debris field from the comet, a lot of asteroids, a lot of rocks, a lot of dust, and so on is going to be hitting Jupiter. But this debris field is so huge, they say that it could block out like a third or more of the cosmos that we know of. So some of this is going to hit the Earth. And if you see blood rain, the rain that comes down and looks red, that's the iron oxide coming from Halley's Comet's debris field, the tail end, the debris field of the tail. And it's supposed to be really bad again in July, and then in the fall, maybe October. So, we can be in prayer for where this hits. So I suggest, folks, close your eyes. I'm going to pray right now. Father, I thank you for these folks that are here with me. We thank you that you hear us when we cry out to you. Lord, there's grave danger heading towards the earth with this comet debris field. Lord, I pray for protection of lives. I pray for protection of our homes. Father, if you could let this stuff hit in areas that are not inhabited, we would be so very grateful. Protect us, Lord. We are trusting in you. In Jesus' name, amen. So that's it for today, folks. And I'll be back tomorrow. It was really nice to hear Larry's voice. It's very encouraging to know he has every intention of coming back, because the last time I talked to him, he made some comment about if I survive. So to hear him with that level of determination and much stronger in his voice. And of course, he's very upset about whatever had been said about, my intercepting money, folks. I don't do that. I wouldn't do that. I never have done that. If anything, I add to what comes in, not take away from. And anytime I've been reimbursed, people will send money to order a book. I don't even take the $3 out for shipping. I pay the shipping myself on top of it, and I let the whole amount that the shipping, the book, the shipping and handling costs, all that goes to Larry, and I pay for the shipping myself. I have always done that. And so anyhow, it upsets me that he was so upset about what apparently somebody had said. And so I guess I felt very defensive about that, both for me and for him. Thanks for being here. God bless you. We'll keep up with this as long as it takes till Larry gets back. So have a great evening and be safe out there. Bye.